The hour was brought to you by Pizza Hut Click and Collect. Order Pizza Hut online at pizzahutjamaica.com, on WhatsApp at 876-837-4HUT, or download the new app available island-wide. Pizza Hut Click and Collect. Crave it, click it, love it.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, $250 billion.
That's how much the government intends to borrow in the next fiscal year to fund its activities.
Keith Duncan calls on public sector workers to play their part by making sacrifices in the post-Hurricane Melissa recovery effort.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton rejects opposition criticism of his stewardship of the sector.
A high-ranking gangster in East Kingston was killed in an alleged confrontation with the police.
In news from the rest of the world, Guyana to become first in Caribbean to offer HLA testing.
Donald Trump says he's sending a second aircraft carrier to the Middle East as he seeks an Iran deal.
In sports, Jamaica's World 100-meter champion Oblique Seville opens his 2026 season in Kingston on Saturday.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, effective May 1, concession on vehicles for public sector workers will attract GCT. The government has also indicated it's committed to the wage offer it presented to the unions. But will the union bosses accept it? President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, Mark Malava, and the former president of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, Helene Davis-White, will weigh in.
Taking you around the world at 6:45, Guyana's opposition leader has condemned a police search of his business premises. Starbuck News editor-in-chief Anand Prasad will tell us what's happening in the oil-rich Caribbean country.
At 7, it's the comments section with Shalois Michael and Mahiri Stewart, and this evening they're asking, will you cut back on sugary drinks in light of the tax? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio. You can also message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693 or leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile Nationwide 90FM, RevoNews.ai, and on the Revo News app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Friday afternoon, our favorite day of the week, Friday, February 13, 2026.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. The government expects to borrow nearly $250 billion in the upcoming fiscal year to support its activities. That's according to the revenue estimates tabled in the House of Representatives on Thursday. The projections are for government revenues to expand in the new fiscal year by $29 billion. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
the government expects to spend over $1.4 trillion for the upcoming 2026-2027 fiscal year. While significant focus has been placed on the new revenue measures announced by Finance Minister Favour Williams, the budget will not be wholly funded through the Consolidated Fund. Approximately $250 billion in additional revenue for the period will be sourced through borrowing. The bulk of the sum will come through local treasury bills and government bonds. That aspect will total nearly $150 billion. The remaining sum will be sourced through various bilateral and multilateral loans. The government intends to tap a $65 billion loan provided by the Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean, CAF. An additional $22 billion in loan receipts are simply listed as other under the multilateral category. Another $9 billion will be provided through bilateral loan agreements. Again, the actual source of the funding is listed as other. In terms of actual government revenues, the government projects collections through taxation to top out at nearly $980 billion. That's $29 billion more than the estimates for the current fiscal year. But as at December this year, the government collected total tax revenues of $626 billion. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
The National Housing Trust, NHT, is expected to generate a surplus of $14 billion in the next financial year, despite the continued drawdown of more than $11 billion to support the central government. That's according to the public body's estimates of expenditures tabled alongside the budget on Thursday. Mahiri Stewart tells us more.
Finance Minister Favour Williams told the Parliament on Thursday that the $11 billion drawdown from the NHT will not come to an end this year. Instead, the move, which has been used by successive administrations to shore up the budget, will continue till 2031.
Given the impact of Hurricane Melissa on the island, continuation of these transfers across the medium term is necessary to support sustainability of the fiscal operations while reconstruction activities are underway. It is therefore proposed, Madam Speaker, that the annual transfer of $11.4 billion from the National Housing Trust to the central government be continued for another 5 years from fiscal 2026-27 through fiscal year 2030-2031.
The drawdown was first announced by the People's National Party in 2013 as a temporary measure to plug a hole in the budget. Its continuation now a decade later has been controversial, with the PNP, now in opposition, becoming one of the strongest critics of the move. There's a belief that the continued drawdown may compromise the trust. Critics say the funds should instead be put towards building affordable houses. So, has the trust been placed in a tenuous position due to the drawdown? The answer is no. At the end of the current financial year, the NHT is estimated to have total profit nearing $20 billion. That's generated from income totaling $60 billion. The bulk of that income comes from the non-refundable employer contributions totaling $44 billion. Comparatively, the Trust's income from mortgage loans is relatively small at just over $7 billion. For expenses, the NHT is expected to spend over $40 billion this financial year. That's inclusive of operating expenses in excess of $16 billion and special subsidies and grants of $12 billion. Nor is the fiscal trajectory of the Trust expected to change dramatically in the upcoming financial year. The NHT is again expected to end that period with a surplus of $14 billion. That's based on income of $54 billion, with expenses relatively unchanged at just over $40 billion. In total, the central government expects to realize over $600 billion in revenues from self-financing public bodies in the current fiscal year. $60 billion of that sum will be direct transfers, of which the NHT represents $11 billion. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Thanks, Mahiri. Now, Government Senator Keith Duncan says the public sector must play its part by making sacrifices in the post-Hurricane Melissa recovery effort. Speaking with Nationwide News outside Gordon House on Thursday, Senator Duncan says the country must be united as it navigates reconstruction and recovery.
With the fallout in tax revenues, what we have is an increase in wage bill that has increased significantly over the period of time. Everyone is going to have to show some restraint, including the public sector. If you have fallout in tax revenues due to the slowdown in the economy from the impact of Melissa, and you have increase in expenditures because you have to rebuild Jamaica, then you're going to have a widening fiscal deficit. It needs to be closed somehow. There's possibilities of new taxation, and then there are also going to be restraint on the side of the public sector because everybody has to carry their weight, share the burden as we go forward.
The government remains in wage negotiations with the public sector, which were disrupted due to the passage of the Category 5 system. Addressing the Parliament on Thursday, Finance Minister Favour Williams says the administration is committed to fulfilling the wage offer currently on the table. Meanwhile, Senator Duncan says he remains unchanged in his view that the country's public sector wage bill must be capped as a percentage of GDP.
No, I maintain that there needs to be a cap is fixed as a percentage of GDP. If we have extraneous circumstances, we can always get back to Parliament and revise that fiscal rule in terms of wages GDP. But we need to look at it because what happens is that now the wages and salaries as a percentage of revenues is greater than 50, almost 50-60% of our tax revenues. And that is not sustainable. So as a country, we have to come together that we have to realize that the public sector has to understand where we are as a country, where we can afford our wage bill to be, and therefore we manage that.
Keith Duncan, Government Senator.
Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the sector is making good progress despite the criticisms from the opposition. Dr. Tufton was speaking with Nationwide News following the ceremonial opening of Parliament on Thursday.
You have to be careful how you listen to a few that make a lot of noise. We are always a work in progress. You would have heard the throne speech announcements around buildings that are under construction slated to come on stream this year. Western Child, Cornwall Regional Health Centers in Portmore, Olab. So we're making good progress. We just experienced a Category 5 hurricane, and so those 5 parishes were severely impacted. Within a week, we had a field hospital on the ground in Black River, and we have responded well to save lives. Now we're building back.
Opposition spokesperson on health Dr. Alfred Dawes recently cited Dr. Tufton's failure of oversight for the failings identified in the operations at the University Hospital of the West Indies, UHWI. This after it was revealed that the hospital unlawfully used its tax exemption status to import goods for at least 3 private companies. The opposition says the ministry has seen numerous scandals under Dr. Tufton's 10-year leadership as minister. But Tufton says isolated incidents cannot be used to paint the sector as one that's failing.
Health is never ever going to be 100% because it's always a work in progress, and that's something we have to accept. It's also highly emotional. It only takes, God forbid, one baby to fall off a bed and the entire system looks like it's burning down. But last year we saw 3 million visits. We gave out 3 million prescriptions to Jamaicans, and I could go on and on. So it's a work in progress. Still have a lot of work to do, but there's a lot that is going on, and the government has been very, very supportive of the sector in terms of budget, from 60 billion in 2016 to 140 billion last year.
That's Dr. Christopher Tufton, Minister of Health and Wellness.
To the courts now, defense attorneys sought to undermine the credibility of a forensic crime scene investigator during cross-examination in the Klansman gang trial on Friday. The detective corporal was pressed on what the defense called a fabricated feature at a 2017 murder scene. 25 accused, including alleged gang leader Tesha Miller, are before the court charged under the anti-gang legislation. The prosecution's case centers on 16 separate criminal acts allegedly committed between August 2017 and November 2022. Robin Williams was there.
During cross-examination, a detective corporal attached to the police's scenes of crime unit was challenged about his reference in court to a metal container at the crime scene on Roger Avenue, Spanish Town, where a fatal shooting occurred in September 2017. The defense pointed out that there was no mention of a container in the witness's original statement and none reflected in the sketch the witness said he prepared at the time. When asked whether that omission surprised him, the witness repeatedly answered in the negative. Counsel suggested that the reference to the container was a recent fabrication, a claim the witness firmly denied. He was further pressed on whether he had pointed out any container in the images previously shown in court. He responded that he had not. The witness accepted that the container did not appear in his statement or sketch, but rejected suggestions that he had made it up or had been instructed by anyone to mention it. Counsel Tamika Harris, who represents the defendant Lamar Rowe, continued the line of questioning, highlighting that the witness's statement was given in 2017 with no reference to a container at that time. Harris suggested that the container was only introduced in 2026 after discussions the witness had with other police personnel involved in the case. The witness rejected that assertion, explaining that after refreshing his memory by reviewing the crime scene images on the CD in evidence, he observed the container in question. He confirmed that he viewed the images at the Major Investigation Division before coming to court and also reviewed his statement, but denied doing so in consultation with other lawmen involved in the case. During re-examination, the witness was shown the crime scene images again from the CD and was asked to identify the container. He pointed it out in the photograph. The prosecution subsequently rejected the defense's suggestion that the reference to the container was a recent fabrication. The trial resumes on Monday morning at 10 o'clock. Robin Williams for Nationwide News.
And of course, for the avoidance of doubt, Robin was there means she was at court. You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Ran out of contact lenses? Buy a 6-month supply of contact lenses this month at IQ Optical and save 50% off the next 6-month supply. Conditions apply. The time by IQ Optical is...
It's 15 minutes after 5.
Termites, rodents, or birds infesting your home or office? Call Rentokil Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest assessment island-wide. The temperature brought to you by Rentokil Initial is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 27 out west in Montego Bay. Continuing the news, a high-ranking member of the Bayshore Gang in East Kingston was killed in an alleged confrontation with the police. He has been identified as 38-year-old Anil Dickens of Everest Drive, Bayshore Park, Harborview, Kingston 17. Reports are that at about 6:40 Friday morning, lawmen from the Kingston Eastern Divisional Intelligence Unit and the Kingston Eastern Operational Support Teams carried out an intelligence-led operation, this on the authority of a search warrant for a person of interest. While searching one dwelling in the community, a member of the police team entered a bedroom where a man reportedly aimed a gun at him. Reports indicate that the policeman quickly discharged his weapon, hitting the alleged gunman, who fell to the ground, still holding the firearm. The injured man was taken to the Kingston Public Hospital where he was pronounced dead. He was later identified as Dickens. Police say the gun collected at the scene was a .38 revolver loaded with 6 live cartridges. Head of the Area 4 Police, Assistant Commissioner Michael Phipps, says Dickens was linked to a double murder on Wednesday in Bayshore Park.
Rupi was considered a high-risk target from the Bayshore Gang, who had serious criminal matters pending in our courts. He was linked to the barbaric and I dare say very brutal double murder of an 83-year-old grandmother and their granddaughter, which occurred on Wednesday, the 11th of February in the Bayshore Park area.
That's ACP Michael Phipps, head of the Area 4 Police.
The St. James Police says it has recorded 9 murders since the start of the year. Acting Operations Officer for the division, DSP Roderick Reed, made the disclosure at Thursday's monthly meeting of the St. James Municipal Corporation. DSP Reed says the parish is still on track to record sub-50 murders for 2026.
The St. James Division have so far recorded 9 murders since the start of this year. And even though it is 9 murders too much, we are still on track as it relates to our goal in terms of having a sub-50 murder realization this year. Our latest murder was in the community of Garlands. This was on Tuesday, somewhere around 8 o'clock in the morning. The suspect is in custody at this time, and in short order, he will be charged.
That's DSP Roderick Reed, Acting Operations Officer for the St. James Police.
The Jamaica Coalition for Tobacco Control, JCTC, is commending the government for the recently announced increase in the Special Consumption Tax SCT on cigarettes. According to JCTC, effective May 1, the SCT charged per cigarette will rise from $17 to $20. It says this is an important step that will directly support the health and welfare of all Jamaicans. In a release on Friday, JCTC says increasing cigarette prices is a measure that is globally recognized as a way of effectively reducing tobacco usage among young people and adults. Chair of the JCTC, Dr. Terry Baker, says this sends a strong signal of the country's continued intention to be compliant with the World Health Organization, WHO, Framework Convention on Tobacco Control.
Motorists are being urged to exercise caution while traveling in the vicinity of Spanish Town Road in St. Andrew. This, as the National Works Agency, the NWA, is conducting road repair work in the area under the Graded Overlay Road Rehabilitation Program. According to the agency, it will be targeting 2 sections of the road. This includes from 6 miles to the Weymouth Drive intersection and from the Maxfield Avenue intersection to Portia Simpson Miller Square. Manager of Communication and Customer Services at the NWA, Stephen Shaw, says the work, which commenced last weekend, is expected to last for 2 months.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute. Guyana is set to make history in healthcare. The country will soon become the first in the Caribbean to perform human leukocyte antigen or HLA testing. It's a critical step needed to match organ donors with recipients for transplants. Up to now, Caribbean countries could only send samples overseas to Miami to complete the testing. But in Guyana, the necessary equipment has already been purchased, and a local specialist is currently completing training in India. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony says the move is a major step forward for the country's organ transplant program.
In the United States, President Donald Trump said he decided to move a second aircraft carrier into the Middle East as he presses Iran to make a deal over its nuclear program. The large aircraft carrier is being sent from the Caribbean Sea to the Middle East to join other warships the U.S. has built up in the region. The planned deployment comes just days after Trump suggested another round of talks with the Iranians was at hand. These negotiations didn't materialize as one of Tehran's top security officials visited Oman and Qatar this week. Gulf Arab nations have warned any attack could spiral into another regional conflict in a Middle East still reeling from the Israel-Hamas war in the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, Iranians are beginning to hold 40 days of mourning ceremonies for the thousands killed in Tehran's bloody protests in January.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, $250 billion.
That's how much the government intends to borrow in the next fiscal year to fund its activities.
Keith Duncan calls on public sector workers to play their part by making sacrifices as Hurricane Melissa recovery effort continues.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton rejects opposition criticism of his stewardship of the sector.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Roby Ann Williams.
And listeners, you can find the news on our website at rivernews.ai and on the River News app. It's available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next. The headlines at 6.
We're going to reconstruct areas that were damaged, but we're going to do it with a forward thinking. We're going to seek to include new businesses and new infrastructure, including new towns, new roads, new schools, new hospitals. We have to build them with the next hurricane, the next shock in mind. We have to build them with resilience.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
If you have an objection to this marriage, speak now or forever hold your...
Don't do it, Tevin! I still love you. I have since the day we stole your mom's car and got matching dolphin tattoos.
Oh, Lordy. Janelle? From Spring Break 08?
Yes, it's me.
Janelle, you've got to move on.
We're like the wedding guest that doesn't ruin the ceremony. CG United Insurance. Good like that.
Unlock winnings, unlock value, unlock postpaid with Digicel. Sign up for your postpaid plan now, win $1 million. When you sign up and unlock postpaid with Digicel, you can win up to $1 million and more. Just sign up or switch to postpaid, upgrade or activate an add-on in the My Digicel app. Pay your bill in full on time and you can win an iPhone 17 Pro Max every week. A bill write-off up to $10 grand, a grand prize of $1 million. Unlock winnings with Digicel. Better connected.
Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Conditions apply. Promotion valid from February 6 to April 4.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. World 100 meters champion Oblique Seville will open his 2026 season on Saturday when he lines up in the 21st Camperdown Classic at Jamaica College starting at 9 in the morning. Former World 400 meters champion Antonio Watson is also down to compete. Alex Swaby sets up the meet.
With elite performances expected in the 400 meters and a strong participation across the board,
Saturday's Camperdown Classic promises to deliver an exciting day of action at Jamaica College. Meet director Courtney Brooks shared that fans can expect a thrilling showcase in the one-lap event, with several world and Olympic medalists confirmed among the competitors.
For the 400, it is going to be a good run. We have Zarnell used normally. He'll run the 60 meter, but we are unsure if he'll do the 60, but he's listed to run the 400. Oblique Seville is listed. We have Antonio Watson. We have Delana Kennedy, Bovell McPherson. We have Jardine Williams from GC Foster that is a versatile runner. She'll be running the 400 meters, so she will be running again our upcoming 400 and sprint star Shania Douglas.
He says he's also excited about the quality of athletes set to compete in the senior male and female 60 meters.
For the 60 meters, we have Brian Level down to compete, so it's going to be an interesting meet. On the girls' side, Terry Turlang, formerly of Edwin Allen.
Brooks says they have seen record-breaking entries for the meet. He believes the strong turnout has been aided by the cancellation of some meets earlier in the season, which forced schools and clubs to adjust their competition schedules.
We have a record entry of 2,654 entries, the largest amount we have had for the Camperdown Classic. For one, yes, meets being cancelled, and the next thing is that we normally clash with Western Release. So Western Release is off, so I think we have gone at some of those schools and competitors that would have gone to Western Release.
Alric Swaby reporting for Nationwide Sports.
Thank you very much, Alric. And of course, the Camperdown Classic is one of two big meets in the corporate area on Saturday. The other is the King of the Ring throw meet up at Excelsior High School, where some 250 athletes representing 28 teams are already registered to compete. The meet organizer, Michael Vassell, who is head coach of the Excelsior team, says the meet will be the largest standalone throwing meet on the local calendar. The meet will showcase Jamaica's top junior and senior field athletes in the shot put, discus and javelin events. With athletes traveling from across the island, anticipation is high for a day of fierce competition and standout performances. Vassell expressed confidence that fans will witness something special, particularly in the senior division.
This meet has consistently produced world leads in especially the male discus, and I don't think it will be any different as we have our top senior throwers coming tomorrow. They like to throw at Excelsior. Excelsior is a good venue for throws, and so I know that we'll have good throwing tomorrow from our seniors.
And Mikey Vassell says the King of the Ring meet plays a crucial role in the development of the Jamaican athletes, especially in a country where track and field dominates and the throwers often compete in the shadow of those track and field athletes. They now get an opportunity to shine alone on their own come tomorrow.
We are used to being distracted by people running around the track. This meet is a place where the thrower is the star. And I must say that I am happy that we can put a meet like this, and I ask people to come out and see it. It's a qualifier for champs. It's where people can get world ranking points. So it's a very important meet for the throwers.
Michael Vassell of Excelsior. Zimbabwe pulled off the first major upset at the ICC T20 World Cup currently on in India and Sri Lanka. They defeated Australia by 23 runs in Colombo on Friday. Zimbabwe first posted 169 for 2 from their allotment as Brian Bennett top scored at 64 not out. Support came from his opening partner Tadiwashane Muramani and Ryan Burley, both chipping in with 35. Seema Blessing Muzarabani then produced career best figures of 4 for 17 from his 4 overs to help dismiss the Aussies for 146 with 3 balls to spare. Matt Renshaw, 65, was the best of the Aussie batters. Bennett says he's excited the Chevrons have started the tournament with 2 wins from as many games to throw Group B into total chaos.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's obviously a great start to get 2 out of 2 wins this tournament. I think obviously we've got 2 more games left in the pool matches. I think, definitely just need to go back to the drawing board, not to get too far ahead of ourselves. Still got 2 big games to play, and hopefully we can come out on top of those as well. No, I don't think it's going to be easy. We've got Sri Lanka and Ireland next 2 games. Like I said, we'll go back to the drawing board, go back to our processes, go back to our planning, and you never know, T20 is a funny game.
And it's important to note that Australia has never beaten Zimbabwe at the T20 World Cup.
Yeah, definitely. It's a huge win for us as Zimbabwe, not only as us as the players, but also as a country. I mean, those fans came all the way from Zimbabwe. They've spent a lot of money to get here, and we're just grateful for what they've done for the last 2 games. And also to the fans back home. We always hear their messages, hear their support. So to go and do that out today was pretty special for everyone.
And we close off with some football. The Jamaica Football Championship will continue this weekend with an exciting slate of games. Matches in Group A and B as teams battle for early position. All games are set to kick off at 3:30. In Zone A at Carter Park Sports Complex, Progressive FC will take on Limehall Academy in what's expected to be a competitive encounter. Over at Belchong Oval, Med Forest will take on the Jamaica Defence Force, and that is an all-Kasafa showdown. Saka Club Brownstown FA are set to square off against Baptiste Alliance in another key Zone A clash, and that's at the Saka Club. Now, Gray's Inn SC will host Wi-Fi United FC at Gray's Inn Sports Complex over there in St. Mary. Zone B will feature Holland PYC going head-to-head with Duncan's FC at Lacovia Sports Complex. At Landilo is Peters Field against Falmouth United. Effortville Community Centre will be the venue where Humberline and Reno are meeting. At the weekend action conclude on Sunday. Roaring River FC will take on St. Bess at Landilo Sports Complex over in Westmoreland. And that will do it for sports. So now Alex Swaby is going to be back with you at 6:05 with our major sportscast.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:31.
TransJam Highways is having a 50% Valentine's Day discount on T-Tac packages. Get yours from the teller in the toll booth for only $1,250, including a $500 toll credit from February 9 to 2026. Got you quicker with a T-Tag every time on TransJam Highways.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking it.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
The news cycle doesn't end on Friday. It needs perspective. That's why every Sunday at midday, Nationwide 90 FM presents The Week That Was. A clear, informed review of the top stories that shaped the past week, what really mattered and what lies ahead. No noise, no theatrics, just analysis, context, and clarity. The Week That Was. Sundays at 12 noon with a repeat at 6:30 p.m. Understand the news before the week begins. Only on Nationwide 90 FM, a new revolution in media.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
3 months after Hurricane Melissa, many families are still rebuilding, still repairing, and still trying to get back on their feet. Some homes remain damaged, some livelihoods are still on hold, and for too many Jamaicans, the road to recovery is far from over. That's why Nationwide 90 FM continues the mission, rebuilding Jamaica, one parish at a time. Join us Friday, February 20, as we broadcast live from the White House Community Center in Westmoreland from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., bringing voices, resources, and solutions directly to a community still in need. This is about more than survival. It's about restoring stability, dignity, and hope. You can be part of the recovery. Support the families still working to rebuild their homes, businesses, and their lives. Together, we can help Jamaica move forward, stronger, safer, and more resilient. Friday, February 20, live from the White House Community Center, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
So they can't keep a good man down, always keep a smile when they want me to.
Oh God, once again! Sunday is a day for reflection and praise. So start it with Lutheran Ministries in Jamaica.
God, we know you're gonna bless us.
Listen to Nationwide 90 FM every Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. for the Lutheran Hour. Brought to you by the Lutheran Ministries Jamaica, located at 33 Courtney Walsh Drive in Kingston. That's the Lutheran Hour, Sundays at 8:30 a.m. on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Visit or contact the Jamaican Lutheran Hour at 33 Courtney Walsh Drive, Kingston 10. WhatsApp or call 876-348-9085. Find us on Facebook at Jamaica Lutheran Hour or email lutheranh@gmail.com.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining me here for Nationwide at 5. It's the cover story. And of course, I'm Ricardo Brooks. And we're talking matters of taxation, concessions, and wages. Because the era of new taxes in Jamaica is over, Finance Minister Favour Williams says there's a massive gap in the government's spending plans that has prompted the administration to levy a $35 billion tax package. The rest of the deficit will be taken care of by debt negotiated with international partners. And among the areas the government is turning to in its quest for more revenue is the duty concession on motor vehicles enjoyed by public sector workers for decades. Tens of thousands of teachers, nurses, and civil servants have realized their dream of car ownership through this concessionary facility. Under the old rules, they paid only a 20% customs duty with special consumption tax and general consumption tax both waived. But come May 1, 2026, all vehicles imported using that duty concession will now attract GCT. For some reactions as to how the workers are responding to this, we're being joined by President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, Mark Malava, and former President of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, Helene Davis-White. Mr. Malava, Mrs. Davis-White, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me.
Good afternoon, everyone.
All right, let me start with you, Mark Malava. Some context. Why was this concession so important to public sector workers, and what's the impact you think this new GCT will have?
Yeah, so the context would be that this is something that would have been established over the years. It is against the backdrop that there are some workers within the public sector whose job requires them extensive travel. Mm-hmm. And the concession was deemed a way in terms of a benefit to reduce the cost of purchasing a vehicle. And interesting enough, once the vehicle is purchased using a concession, then there are certain conditionalities that would apply over a period of, I believe it would be 5 years. Mm-hmm. In terms of those conditions that the government would impose in terms of the use of the vehicle, how the vehicle, where the vehicle stays for example, in the night, who can drive those vehicles, that sort of thing.
Yes.
And most in previous dispensations, persons who benefited from a concession used to be able to claim upkeep. That is not necessarily so now because the government has ruled it into salaries. These individuals, however, can claim mileage. And what this means is that whenever they go out on the road to carry out official duties, they claim that mileage from the government.
In terms of the effect now, how do you think your members will react to this?
We are doing the internal assessment. Of course, this is a benefit that is negotiated through Joint Confederation of Trade Unions. We are doing the initial assessment. We have some major concerns because, of course, you know, the announcement was made yesterday.
Yes.
Where we are is that we believe that there ought to be a meeting with the Ministry of Education, not education, my apologies, with finance,
yes,
so that there can be discussions around what the implications of it. Because on the face of it, what the government seems to be doing, or finance seem to be doing, is that they are applying a 15% GCT to a tax on vehicles that you can concession.
Yeah.
And so invariably, when you do the math, it sounds like all that the traveling officers will get going forward might be only a 5% reduction in the cost of the vehicle. Yeah? So there are some major concerns for us because we know, so and again, some context, there was a proposal years ago, not years ago, a few years ago, I think about 2 years ago, during the restructuring or reclassification exercise in which the then Minister of Finance had proposed that concessions be removed.
And you all fought tooth and nail to keep it.
And we fought tooth and nail to keep that. And this looks to me like it is sort of an ambush of the process because, you know, there were no discussions about it with the unions, to the best of my knowledge. You know, we were hearing it for the first time, just like everybody else, when it was announced. And it raises major concerns for unions, particularly the JTA.
I hear Mr. Malava, Helene Davis-White, about the concerns, but I also hear Senator Keith Duncan, government senator, saying, boy, public sector workers are going to have to sacrifice. They're going to have to play their part during this difficult time. And it appears the finance minister is asking you to sacrifice in this way by accepting this GCT offer. What say you?
Well, I think the record will show that public sector workers have been making sacrifices for a very long time. They have gone through near 10 years of wage freeze in the last 15, 20 years. And it is our sacrifice, among others, that allow Jamaica to be where it is, where the current government is able to boast about its performance, its fiscal performance, etc. So at this time, for public sector workers to be called upon to sacrifice yet again, I think is going to be very difficult for them to swallow. Not that it is impossible, but it's going to be very difficult for them to swallow such a call at this time. Also, what I think the government needs to recognize, and I think that was one of the points that was put forward to former Minister Clark when he attempted to remove the duty concession when he was minister, is that the concession is granted to government traveling officers, and it was put in place at a time when the government itself was unable to provide motor vehicles in sufficient quantities for its traveling officers to be able to carry out their function. And so when they instituted the duty concession, it allowed the traveling officers to be able to purchase vehicles because they were getting them now at a reduced cost based on the duty concession. So while in this go-round it may be not as bad as it would have been if Minister Clark had gone ahead with the total removal of the duty concession, it still will result in public sector workers, and I'm not saying workers, we have to remember public sector traveling officers.
Right.
Because you have to be defined as a bona fide traveling officer. So
to benefit.
Right, it's not just anybody that gets it. It is going to, I think, affect the ability to carry out their various functions, because if they are unable to purchase the vehicles, then the government will now have to itself purchase these vehicles to give them to travel to do their jobs. And we know that that is not on the cards as we speak. So I think good sense should prevail in terms of what is going to be the effect of the imposition now of the collection of GCT on the import of motor vehicles. And as Mr. Malava said, I believe the proper approach would have been to have had consultations with the unions representing the workers, and for us to be able to come to some kind of amicable resolution, rather than to make an announcement in the fashion that it was yesterday. So as a result of that, this morning, workers are calling, and as union leaders, we are unable to say anything to them. And that is going to add sort of fuel to the fire. So I would ask the Minister of Finance to very quickly have a meeting with the union leaders so that we can go into pull some discussions around this removal of not removal of the duty concession, but now asking public sector workers to pay GCT on the import of motor vehicles.
Up on the break, after the break, Mrs. Davis, right, there are some who say, but hey, public sector workers, including the traveling officers, got a substantial salary increase not so long ago, and now the country needs you to step up one more time. True, you stepped up in the past, but to step up one more time in a difficult situation. What would be your response to them? I want to hear after the break.
Order Pizza Hut online at pizzahutjamaica.com or through WhatsApp at 876-837-4488. Pizza Hut, now that's delivery. The time by Pizza Hut is
5:47.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Unlock winnings, unlock value, unlock postpaid with Digicel.
When you sign up, stay active, or upgrade, you could win up to $1 million and more.
Unlock winnings with Digicel.
Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Conditions apply. Promotion valid from February 6 to April 4.
Back with you on Nationwide at 5. It's the cover story, and I'm hearing from President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, Mark Malava, and former President of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, Helene Davis White, because effective May 1, vehicles imported for traveling officers in the government will attract GCT. Both Mr. Malava and Helene Davis White are raising concerns in terms of the consultation or lack thereof that happened before the minister's announcement in the House of Representatives yesterday, and also concerns about what it will mean about the officers who need to travel to do the business of the government. Before the break, Mrs. Davis White, you know it well, the argument, the public sector workers got a significant salary increase, and therefore they're being called upon at this time to step up and accept that the country just cannot afford to finance its budget unless these taxes are levied. And the government says they're trying to be equitable in the application, and so they've identified this area as one area they can get revenues from. How would you respond to that call that you got the big salary increase? Why can't you just sacrifice in this way?
And I think it should be noted that, yes, there were significant increases to a large section of the public sector. I'm not going to say the entire public sector.
Okay.
Because in truth and in fact, traveling officers were the ones who received the minimum increase of 30%, while others would have gotten 70, 80, 100, 200%. Traveling officers, by and large, received a 30%, which was the minimum increase that was payable at the time. And so they got the wrong end of the stick with the compensation review, and they are now being called upon to sacrifice yet again. And I don't think this approach is the best approach, because as we had indicated from day one, we called for this compensation review because public sector workers were being so poorly paid.
Mrs. Davis, right? We dropped her? Okay. Mr. Malava, how do you respond to the argument then?
Well, it's an argument that the JTA rejects. From where we sat, we believe that the compensation package that was rolled out the last time around was not in keeping with the value of the teachers as per the Ernst & Young report. Ellen is absolutely right in terms of the traveling officers. The movement for the vast majority of educators was somewhere around 25-30%. So from where I sit, that was not significant enough.
Mr. Malava, people in the private sector would hear you say it, a 25 or 30% increase in salary not being enough. It is amazing, because in the private sector they'll tell you that is a significant increase in salary.
Yeah, but you have to go back to where the educators at the public sectors were coming from. When you compare the salary of public sector workers prior to that to that of private.
No, we lost Mr. Malava as well? Oh dear. Listen, sorry about that. Mrs. Davis White is back with us now. Mrs. Davis, could you just finish the point you were making? I apologize.
Yes, what I'm saying is that while we agree that there were significant increases to a large section of the public sector, it's important to note that traveling officers were amongst the group that received the minimum increase. And because they're traveling, their upkeep was rolled into their pay. So they received the minimum increase, and now they're being asked to pay the GCT if they are importing motor vehicles. So the thing about people getting, significant increases and having to now sacrifice, I don't think it would sit well, certainly, on the shoulders of public sector traveling officers, because they, at this point in time, are seeing themselves as experiencing a double whammy, so to speak. So I don't think that will go down very well with them. And, because we have not had extensive discussions and consultations with the workers, because this is just one day after. But I am pretty sure going into those discussions and trying to say to them exactly what is being proposed by the government, I don't expect that they are going to be very happy.
Are either of you concerned about the discussions about the need to cap the public sector wage bill, that it's getting out of control and it's unsustainable at these levels? Are either of you concerned about that?
Well, I think we would have to be concerned because, the cost of the wage bill is always something that is very important in terms of any government's, budget and their need to deliver services to the Jamaican citizenry. But I think what one needs to look at as well, because sometimes we develop some relationships in terms of pay that may not actually be some of them seem to be like drawn from a hat. And one of the things that was done, certainly leading up to the signing of the IMF agreement, the last IMF agreement, there was the talk then, and it was actually put into effect about wages, the wage bill being at about, I think, 9-10% of GDP. And it had to be adjusted in order to make the payments coming out of the compensation review. And so I think, as public sector unions, we would be open to discussions about not necessarily an absolute cap as such, but that we recognize that when we are looking at the wage bill, it has to bear some relationship to, government's ability to pay, etc., etc. So if those discussions come on the table, I believe that as unions, we would not shy away from the discussions, but what we are not in favor of is just taking a number out of a hat and say that the wage bill should be at that level. What we are saying is that the wage bill has to be a function of the services that are to be delivered to the Jamaican people, and the government has to decide if it wants service at a particular level, then you have to ensure that the wages that are paid to the workers are such that you will be able to attract and retain quality staff in the public sector.
Mr. Malava, the finance minister, said the administration is committed to the wage offer it made. Last year, I think it was just before Melissa, in the latter part of the summer, and it sounded to me, this is my interpretation anyway, that it didn't seem the government was going to be prepared to move beyond that offer. What's the position of the teachers? Are you going to accept what the offer is, the one that's on the table?
No, well, we remain in active negotiations with the government. Just to piggyback on some of the points that Ellen has made. As far as the teachers are concerned, the issue of salaries is not just about dollars and cents. It's about social justice. Yeah, our teachers are amongst the lowest paid in the Caribbean, as per the CAPRA report. And when you look at the data, our teachers are performing remarkably well. When you compare that data in terms of performance evaluation with that of our Caribbean counterparts, how a country or a society treats its teachers.
But I thought the Patterson report said that we weren't getting value for money in terms of how much we spend on education as opposed to the output, and also cited the fact that salaries, and we've had this discussion already, Mr. Malava, so I don't need to remind you, that salaries take up the lion's share of the education budget, and we're not getting value for that money.
Yeah, but again, it has to do with the unit cost to educate a child, and not necessarily a percentage of GDP as the government has articulated. And let me give you some data. When you look at Finland, for example, Finland spends in excess of $1.2 million unit cost per child. Jamaica spends less than $200,000 unit cost per child. That should tell you, and the government will argue that the GDP in terms of spend is similar or comparable to that of a Finland. It's the same scenario.
But are we comparing apples with apples when you compare Jamaica to Finland? Is that a fair comparison?
Yeah, but bear in mind, it was the government that started the argument in terms of the comparative analysis with a Finland or a Singapore in terms of spend per GDP. And we are saying, in terms of the spend per GDP, well, let me even go further. A colleague of mine did a research the other day, and he was looking at the per capita spend on national security versus the per capita spend on education over an 8-year period. That data is very interesting because it's pointing to the fact, it's pointing to the per capita spend on national security is higher than the per capita spend on education. And that I found it very interesting. So if we want to go granular, we can argue the point in terms of the spend per education. It may look large in our term, but is it enough? You know, it's like you know, you want to produce a particular thing and you're under investing in it. You're going to get substandard output in many instances.
I'm up on time, but what I hear you saying is that you're not prepared to just accept the offer on the table, that you're going to try to push for more.
No, we're not. We have that. Well, the government is supposed to give us another offer based on the fact that we were in negotiations with them last week, Wednesday. We are waiting on that, and then we will take it from there.
And if you don't get another offer?
Well, there are some things that we have maintained that these are deal breakers for us. And unless those things are included in terms of the offer, then we will not have an agreement with the government.
Mark Balava, Helene Davis-White, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it as always. 6 o'clock, time for the headlines. Difficult waters to navigate. Finance Minister Favour Williams is at the helm. Andrew Holness, of course, the captain. We're going to take the break for the headlines now, and then we'll be back at 6:25.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is...
A minute after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. The government expects to borrow nearly $250 billion in the upcoming fiscal year to support its activities. That's according to the revenue estimates tabled in the House of Representatives on Thursday. While significant focus has been placed on the new revenue measures announced by Finance Minister Favour Williams, the budget will not be wholly funded through the Consolidated Fund. Approximately $250 billion in additional revenue for the period will be sourced through borrowing. The bulk of the sum will come through local treasury bills and government bonds. That aspect will total nearly $150 billion. The remaining sum will be sourced through various bilateral and multilateral loans. The government intends to tap a $65 billion loan provided by the Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean CAF. An additional $22 billion in loan receipts are simply listed as other under the multilateral category. Another $9 billion will be provided through bilateral loan agreements. Again, the actual source of the funding is listed as other. In terms of actual government revenues, the government projects collections through taxation to top out at nearly $980 billion. Meanwhile, the National Housing Trust, NHT, is expected to generate a surplus of $14 billion in the next financial year, despite the continued drawdown of more than $11 billion to support the central government. The drawdown was first announced by the People's National Party in 2013 as a temporary measure to plug a hole in the budget. Its continuation now, a decade later, has been controversial, with the PNP, now in opposition, becoming one of the strongest critics of the move. There's a belief that the continued drawdown may compromise the trust. Critics say the funds should instead be put towards building affordable houses. So has the trust been placed in a tenuous position due to the drawdown? The answer is no. At the end of the current fiscal year, the NHT is estimated to have total profit nearing $20 billion. That's generated from income totaling $60 billion. The bulk of that income comes from non-refundable employer contributions totaling $44 billion. Comparatively, the Trust's income from mortgage loans is relatively small at just over $7 billion. For expenses, the NHT is expected to spend over $40 billion in this financial year. Government Senator Keith Duncan says the public sector workers must play their part by making sacrifices for the Hurricane Melissa recovery effort. Speaking with Nationwide News outside Gordon House on Thursday, Senator Duncan says the country must be united as it navigates reconstruction and recovery.
With the fallout in tax revenues, we have also, what we have is an increase in wage bill that has increased significantly over the period of time. Everyone is going to have to show some restraint, including the public sector. If you have fallout in tax revenues due to the slowdown in the economy from the impact of Melissa, and you have increase in expenditures because you have to rebuild Jamaica, then you're going to have a widening fiscal deficit. It needs to be closed somehow. There is possibilities of new taxation, and then there are also going to be restraint on the side of the public sector because everybody has to carry their weight, share the burden as we go forward.
The government remains in wage negotiations with the public sector, which were disrupted due to the passage of the Category 5 system. Addressing the Parliament on Thursday, Finance Minister Fayval Williams says the government is committed to fulfilling the wage offer currently on the table. Meanwhile, Senator Duncan says he remains committed to his view that the country's public sector wage bill must be capped as a percentage of GDP.
No, I maintain that there needs to be a cap is fixed as a percentage of GDP. If we have extraneous circumstances, we can always get back to Parliament and revise that fiscal rule in terms of wages to GDP. But we need to look at it because what happens is that now the wages and salaries as a percentage of revenues is greater than almost 50-60% of our tax revenues. And that is not sustainable. So as a country, we have to come together, we have to realize that the public sector has to understand where we are as a country, where we can afford our wage bill to be, and therefore we manage that.
Keith Duncan, Government Senator. The St. James Police says it has recorded 9 murders since the start of the year. Acting Operations Officer for the division, DSP Roderick Reed, made the disclosure at Thursday's monthly meeting of the St. James Municipal Corporation. DSP Reed says the division is still on track to record sub-50 murders for 2026.
The St. James Division have so far recorded 9 murders since the start of this year. And even though it is 9 murders too much, we are still on track as it relates to our goal in terms of having a sub-50 murder realization this year. Our latest murder was in the community of Garlands. This was on Tuesday, somewhere around 8 o'clock in the morning. The suspect is in custody at this time, and in short order, he will be charged.
He urged residents to cooperate with the police as operations continue to remove illegal weapons from communities within the parish.
The operational activities within the St. James Division will continue, and so we ask that the respective communities understand the situation as it relates to the police continuing our operational activities. We want them to also bear with us as we keenly try to remove all illegal weapons from within these communities that will be able to create mayhem and increase our murder situation.
DSP Roderick Reed, Acting Operations Officer for the St. James Police Division. A high-ranking member of the Bay Shore gang in East Kingston was killed in an alleged confrontation with the police. He has been identified as 38-year-old O'Neill Dickens of Everest Drive, Bayshore Park, Harborview, Kingston 17. Reports are that at about 6:40 Friday morning, lawmen from the Kingston Eastern Divisional Intelligence Unit and the Kingston Eastern Operational Support Teams carried out an intelligence-led operation. This on the authority of a search warrant for a person of interest. While searching one dwelling in the community, a member of the police team entered a bedroom where a man reportedly aimed a gun at him. Reports indicate that the policeman quickly discharged his weapon, hitting the alleged gunman, who fell to the ground still holding the firearm. The injured man was taken to the Kingston Public Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. He was later identified as Dickens. Police say the gun collected at the scene was a .38 revolver loaded with 6 live cartridges. Head of the Area 4 Police Division, Assistant Commissioner Michael Phipps, says Dickens was linked to a double murder on Wednesday in Bayshore Park.
Rupi was considered a high-risk target from the Bayshore gang, who had serious criminal matters pending in our courts. He was linked to the barbaric, and I dare say very brutal, double murder of an 83-year-old grandmother and their granddaughter, which occurred on Wednesday, the 11th of February in the Bayshore Park area.
That's ACP Michael Phipps, head of the Area 4 Police. Those are the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Sports is next.
Stepping confidently into a new year starts with one simple, powerful word. Yes! Say yes to new beginnings. Say yes to a secure future. Say yes to living the life you love with your family. With health and life insurance from Sagicor Life. We're here to give you the protection and peace of mind you deserve in 2026. All you have to do is say yes to what matters most. Call 888 Sagicor to speak with an advisor today.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
We love showing you the fun side of Jamaica. New places, good food, real vibes, and pure adventure. If you enjoy exploring with us, come closer. Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alex Raby. We tip things off with some basketball. Campion College captured the Issa Urban Area Under-19 Basketball Championship title on Friday after defeating St. George's College 70-64 in the decisive third game of the best-of-3 series at Campion College. Now to track and field, as nearly 250 athletes representing 28 teams are set to compete at the King of the Rings throwing meet this Saturday at Excelsior High School. Meet organizer Michael Vassell says the meet will be the largest standalone throwing event on the local athletics calendar. The meet will showcase Jamaica's top senior and junior field athletes in the shot put, discus, and javelin. With athletes traveling from across the island, anticipation is high for a day of fierce competition and standout performances. Vassell expressed confidence that fans will witness something special, particularly in the senior division.
This meet has consistently produced world leads in especially the male discus, and I don't think it will be any different as we have our top senior throwers coming tomorrow. They like to throw at Excelsior. Excelsior is a good 20 for throws, and so I know that we'll have good throwing tomorrow from our seniors.
Vassell emphasized that the King of the Rings meet plays a crucial role in athlete development, especially in track and field landscape, where throwers often compete in the shadow of sprinters and the middle-distance stars.
We are used to being distracted by people running around the track. This meet is a place where the thrower is the star. And I must say that I am happy that we can put a meet like this, and I ask people to come out and see it. It's a qualifier for champs. It's where people can get world ranking points. So it's a very important meet for the throwers.
Michael Vassell. The World 100 meters champion Oblique Seville will open his 2026 season on Saturday when he lines up at the 21st staging of the Camperdown Classic at Jamaica College starting at 9 a.m. Former World 400 meters champion Antonio Watson is also down to compete. With elite performances expected in the 400 meters and a strong participation across the board, Saturday's Camperdown Classic promises to deliver an exciting day of action at Jamaica College. Meet director Courtney Brooks shared that fans can expect a thrilling showcase in the one-lap event, with several world and Olympic medalists confirmed among the competitors.
For the 400, it is going to be a good run. We have Zarnell who's normally he'll run the 60 meter, but we are unsure if he'll do the 60, but he's listed to run the 400. Oblique Seville is listed. We have Antonio Watson, we have Delana Kennedy, Bovell McPherson, we have Jardine Williams from GC Foster that is a versatile runner. She'll be running the 400 meter, so she will be running against our upcoming 400 and sprint star Shania Douglas.
He says he's also excited about the quality of athletes set to compete in the senior male and female 60 meters.
For the 60 meters, we have Brian Level down to compete, so it's going to be an interesting meet. On the girls' side, Terry Curler, formerly of Edwin Allen.
Brooks says they have seen record-breaking entries for the meet. He believes the strong turnout has been aided by the cancellation of some meets earlier in the season, which forced schools and clubs to adjust their competition schedules.
We have a record entry of 2,654 entries, the largest amount we have had for the Camperdown Classic. For one, yes, meets been cancelled, and the next thing is that we normally clash with Western Release. So Western Release is off, so I think we have garnered some of those schools and competitors that would have gone to Western Release.
Now, former Jamaica and West Indies fast bowler Michael Holden is anticipating thrilling performances at the revamped Gibson McCook Relays scheduled for February 28 at the National Stadium. Holden, one of the most feared fast bowlers to represent the West Indies, says the annual Relay Carnival holds special memories from his days as a student at Kingston College.
I was quite happy to watch. I used to love attending the Gibson Relays, and now the Gibson McCook Relays, I would love to be watching those. I would miss them.
Nicknamed the Whispering Death for his smooth, silent run-up and devastating pace, Holden's athleticism often sparked conversation beyond the cricket pitch. Many observers believed his graceful approach to the crease and fluid movement in the field were the raw ingredients of a world-class sprinter. However, Holden insists that any thoughts of switching spikes for track shoes were quickly dismissed.
When I went to school at KC, we had some fantastic athletes at the same time. People like Kirk Douglas and Trevor Campbell, that everybody used to just chant TC, TC. There was no way I could think about competing with them, so I was happy to leave the running to them.
Michael Holden. Now to horse racing, as Deputy Chairman of the Jamaica Racing Commission, Derek Smith, believes the return of the Diamond Mile to Caymanas Park will add more flavour to the country's horse racing calendar. The Diamond Mile event was last contested at Caymanas Park in 2019, where the filly She's a Man Eater, with Omar Walker in the saddle for trainer at the late Wayne DaCosta, took top honours. Smith, who is also a two-time winner of the Diamond Mile as an owner, stated that the event will make its return in July this year, with more details to come on the specific date.
Prior to the Motor Mile, this has been the premier race for other than, of course, the classics. And we are very happy that the Racing Commission has decided to, again, cooperate and work with the promoters, Supreme Ventures and Racing Entertainment Limited, to bring this race back.
Derek Smith. Now to football, as the 2026 CONCACAF Under-17 qualifiers is in the history books as the 8th participating nation that will represent the region in the FIFA Under-17 World Cup Qatar 26 have been defined. Jamaica's Jamari Nolan stood out throughout the tournament and earned an individual distinction. Nolan received the Best Player award after being an integral member for Jamaica to win Group G unbeaten with 3 victories to qualify for a FIFA Under-17 World Cup for a third time. Nolan was instrumental throughout the campaign, totaling 6 goal contributions through 4 goals and 2 assists. Meanwhile, Minister of Sports Oliver Grains was among the government and sporting officials who gathered at the Norman Manley Airport to welcome home Jamaica's triumphant Under-17 football team following their qualification for the FIFA Under-17 World Cup set for November in Qatar. The young Reggae Boys secured their place on the world stage in emphatic fashion, topping Group G with 3 wins from 3 starts. In a dominant display throughout the qualifying campaign, the team netted an impressive 18 goals while conceding just once. Minister Grains praised the players and coaching staff for what she described as a remarkable achievement that has brought pride and joy to the nation.
Thank you so much for making us proud. Thank you for your commitment to Jamaica. Thank you for the energy and the dedication you show in your performance, because if you weren't, you would not perform well. And just to say to you that each of you means something to this country, means something to me as I am your minister.
The minister reaffirmed the government's commitment to ensure the team receives the necessary resources and support ahead of the global showpiece in Qatar.
And if whatever issues you may have personally, I can't solve everybody's problem, but you can certainly reach out to me and I will see what I can do. Because I know life is not easy. And sometimes you do well for Jamaica, and then when you come back, everybody praise you and big you up. And when you leave here, you go home, there may be issues you have to face. That's not easy for you. So just remember, I'm a phone call away.
Minister of Sports Oliver Grains. Meanwhile, head coach Wendell Downswell reminded supporters that while qualification is a significant milestone, the mission is far from complete.
It just begins, because the preparation is of utmost significance, and I'm appealing to corporate Jamaica and the government to lend the necessary support to ensure that these youngsters are able to fulfill their dreams and aspirations, and in doing that, making this country of ours, Jamaica, proud.
Wendell Downswell. I'm Alric Swiby, and that's your sports.
The following announcement is from the National Housing Trust. Pensioners who had a weekly income of less than $30,000 at the time of their retirement can apply for smart energy grants of up to $1.5 million. With the NHT Smart Energy Grant, pensioners can upgrade their homes with renewable energy solutions and save on electricity. See the Sunday newspapers and visit the NHT website for details.
I didn't hear you leave. I wonder how am I still here?
This show is your escape, your vibe, your reset.
But I will go down with this ship.
If Urban Paradise ever brings you peace, joy, or a little relief,
surrender.
Come closer.
What you won't do.
Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
You tried everything, but you don't give up.
Come into the parlor. There's a welcome there for you.
Welcome to the Mayor's Parlor with Desmond McKenzie.
From 1 to 6 p.m. every Sunday, you'll now get more of your favorite vintage music.
Put your head on my shoulder.
Nationwide 90 FM will transform your Sunday into a musical time machine that will take you way back.
Come with me. Let's go back in time.
This magic moment.
Journey into yesteryear with Desmond McKenzie in the Mayor's Parlor.
I've got the music to jog your memory and make you smile.
Put your sweet lips a little closer to the phone.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the best in vintage music.
Come into the Mayor's Parlor every Sunday between 1 and 6 p.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Everything loud and wicked every Saturday 3 to 5 p.m. with Outside with Pepita. Loan vibes, loan laughs, and loan entertainment. Come on the road with we. Cause when we say Outside with Pepita, we're there all over Jamaica. Anyway, check them out. We're there. We're in on the business. Stay tuned in for prizes, surprises, giveaways, guest artists, and enough more. But hold on there. Don't forget to big up my DJ. DJ Jerome, the Shell Boss, I'm gonna make your bust to pew pew with the maddest, baddest, and latest tune. So look out for Outside with Pepita. We might be coming to a town near you. You heard it here first. Outside with Pepita, Saturdays 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. The new revolution in media. Jamaica, lock it in and don't miss a thing.
The news cycle doesn't end on Friday. It needs perspective. That's why every Sunday at midday, Nationwide 90 FM presents The Week That Was. A clear, informed review of the top stories that shaped the past week, what really mattered and what lies ahead. No noise, no theatrics, just analysis, context, and clarity. The Week That Was. Sundays at 12 noon with a repeat at 6:30 p.m. Understand the news before the week begins. Only on Nationwide 90 FM, a new revolution in media.
Back with you on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the nation's business. I'm Ricardo Brooks, and we're turning our attention now to that tax on cigarettes. The Jamaica Coalition for Tobacco Control, JCTC, is commending the government for the recently announced increase in the special consumption tax, SCT, on cigarettes. According to the JCTC, effective May 1, the SCT charge per cigarette will rise from $17 to $20. It says this is an important step that will directly support the health and welfare of all Jamaicans. In a release Friday, the JCTC says increasing cigarette prices is a measure that is globally recognized as a way of effectively reducing tobacco usage among young people and adults. The chair of the JCTC, Dr. Terry Baker, says it sends a strong signal of the country's continued intention to be compliant with the World Health Organization, WHO's framework convention on tobacco control. Joining me now is the chair of the Jamaica Coalition for Tobacco Control, Dr. Terry Baker. Good evening, Dr. Baker.
Good evening to you, and good evening to all of your listeners.
Thank you so much for joining me. Are you really convinced that this will have a material impact in terms of usage? Because aren't people just going to buy it anyway because they like the stuff?
I know that many persons may think so, and that is one concern, yes. However, the increasing cost of cigarettes is globally recognized as the number one method in terms of persons not starting to smoke or persons who do smoke, reducing the numbers that they smoke, which is always a gain for their health and the health of others, and also is a step towards stop smoking.
Mm-hmm. And you say it will affect, in fact, young people and adults in particular. What are we seeing in terms of usage among young people in Jamaica?
So the usage among young people in Jamaica is of concern. And we do know that we have an increasing number of persons and our youth smoking. Nationally, we've seen a slight reduction in the number of persons who smoke. We did see an uptick in 2020, but since then the numbers are trending downwards, and we could probably attribute attribute the numbers increasing in 2020 due to the stress of COVID-19 and the isolation of persons. But of concern is in cigarette use in the youth, and more so e-cigarettes or vaping in youth. It is believed that e-cigarettes or vaping is of no harm or less harm, but this is not so. E-cigarettes and vaping cause significant health issues. And because the youth are the ones who are primarily using it, it is of concern in this group. It is associated with poor memory. It is associated with lung infections. We don't have as much data, but they are not harmless.
So the SET will also apply to e-cigarettes? Is that your understanding?
Well, we need further information with regards to the extent. The WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control that Jamaica would have signed and ratified in as far back as 2005 speaks not just to cigarettes and tobacco products, but also speaks to e-cigarettes and vaping.
Hold it for me there, Dr. Baker, up on a time signal. Soon come.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is...
It's 6:30. Back with you on Nationwide at 5. I'm Ricardo Brooks, and I'm pleased to be joined by the chair of the Jamaica Coalition for Tobacco Control, Dr. Terry Baker. That's because the government has applied a SCT on cigarettes, and the Coalition for Tobacco Control is commending the government for doing that. Dr. Baker, have we done enough as a society to point to the harms, for example, the harms you just pointed to, in smoking cigarettes? Because I know when I go to other countries, for example, the packaging is pretty graphic, if you want to use it like that. But not so much in Jamaica.
That's an excellent question. We have made inroads. I mean, legally now, it is now illegal to smoke in public spaces, health facilities, including pharmacies, and which reduces persons' exposure and risk harms. We do have warnings on cigarette packages, but have we done enough? We still have a way to go. But every step in the right direction is just gains. So we continue to plug on, we continue to educate, we continue to watch what is happening nationally and on the global scene with regards to tobacco industry and tobacco industry interference, and we lobby behind our ministries of health and our governments, particularly as this convention is a legally signed document that we need to continue in terms of meeting the various facets that are part of the convention.
Yeah. And beyond just applying a SCT, a special consumption tax, what are some of the other gaps that we can fill in order to lessen usage?
Well, one of the things is that we do have the law that bans smoking in public spaces, in hospitals, in health facilities, in schools. But we really need to put teeth to the law, right? And that there are consequences of breaking the law. Another area that we need to end attention on is the vaping. I mean, it is widespread. You step into the supermarkets, you step into the pharmacies, you step into the gas stations, and the vaping products are right there in front of your face. And I have seen teenagers purchasing it. So the law needs teeth. And a big area that we need to look at is the tobacco industries and the partnership of the tobacco industries with certain institutions such as schools, scholarships, social projects, based on the WHO framework, that's a big no-no.
My recollection
I mean,
is
you can't be...
Go ahead.
You can't be
please,
giving persons cigarettes and nicotine-based products, which will harm. It is the only known substance, if used as directed, will cause harm and death. And then on the other hand, you're paying for scholarships. No.
Tell me about some of those harms. So you talk about, for example, poor concentration. What are some of the harms?
Well, tobacco or cigarettes have thousands of substances, over 50 of which are known to be carcinogenic. That is cancer causing. And when we look at lung cancer, it is associated with the development or an increased risk of death from nearly every known cancer, including breast, stomach, tongue, larynx, colon. Now, many people say, I'm too young to get cancer. But let us be real. From the first cigarette that is smoked, it has a negative impact on health. It increases the blood pressure, it reduces oxygen levels, increases what we call carbon monoxide, which will rob your organs of oxygen. It is associated with heart disease, hypertension, heart attacks, stroke, diabetes, arthritis, poor outcomes in pregnancy. Do I have to go on?
And why is it so addictive? Why is it that people find it so difficult to quit or kick the habit?
It is a true addiction. It is both a psychological and a physiological addiction. Nicotine, which is found in cigarettes, has been found to be more addictive than cocaine and heroin.
Oh, is that right?
So yes. And we recognize it is an addiction. So it is a disease. And therefore, persons oftentimes will need help to stop smoking.
And what does that help look like?
It comes in many facets. We have to first educate. We have to educate the persons. Prevention is the first thing. We have to stop it, Stop people from even starting. And those who have started, educate them on their risks to their health and the health of others around them. And many persons might believe that, I'm immune. No. If you actually stop smoking, it has a positive impact from the get-go. However, you may never ever return to normal. Every cigarette smoked reduces life expectancy. And for many persons who will end up smoking thousands of cigarettes over their lifetime, it easily reduces their lifespan by about 15 to 25 years.
And you're saying that
have been done.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Studies have been done, and there may be extrapolations, but they have been proven.
Yeah. My recollection is that there's a Tobacco Control Act which is currently making its way either before or is already before a joint select committee. If you could just remind me, what's the progress where that's concerned?
So yes, we do have a joint select committee here in Jamaica that is actively examining the legislation, and its role is to basically focus on creating smoke-free environments and ratifying the law, the law that we've signed to. We've had a few setbacks, so we have not met as often as we should have, and this have been due to focus being shifted by natural disasters. Between Melissa, burial, COVID. But with this signing and the increasing on the SCT as of May 1, we surely hope that the Joint Select Committee will be on board very soon and we'll start having meetings again Because as I said, signing the framework, WHO framework, is a legally binding document. And you do have reports that need to go in. So we don't want to be breaking the law.
Yeah. Let me just take you back to public education, because I know in other countries, for example, they have debates as to whether one way of, educating the public on the harms is actually to show them. So to have the very graphic billboard showing you, for example, a diseased lung or throat or whatever it is, to show the actual effects. How do you come down on that? Would you support that kind of campaign, or would you support more, the urging, don't do this, don't do this?
I think education and the campaign on smoking has to be multifaceted, multifactorial, and has to be geared towards the various population. Mm-hmm. For example, many years ago, I was asked to speak to a group of high schoolers, 13, 14, 15 years old, on cigarette smoking and lung cancer. And I remember saying to the group that asked me to do it, I said, with due respect, a 13-year-old cannot identify with cancer, right? That may be more appropriate for somebody in their 40s or in their 50s. But when you're speaking to a teenager about cancer, unless they've had someone who has had cancer in their family, right, they can't readily identify with that risk. So you have to gear the education depending on the population. And we need to educate all groups, from school-aged children right up to our elderly folk. Mm-hmm. So it's not to say that it is wrong. It is to find what is appropriate for that group.
Yeah.
And I have used graphic pictures in some instances, and it may be appropriate, but in another group, that may not be suitable.
Understood. For those who may want to quit, because I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I wish I could," and I've tried and I always relapse, that kind of a thing. For those who may want to quit and they're finding it difficult, do we have enough support systems in place in Jamaica to assist, that effort?
I believe we have support systems, but we need to be able to have them under an umbrella where persons will be able to readily identify the groups and the physicians and the psychologists and the psychiatrists and the counselors who are available to assist in their stopping to smoke. We also need to be able to have, I know under the Heart Foundation, there was once a list of physicians who were actively involved in cessation of smoking. Do we need more? Certainly. Right, certainly. There's never enough.
Is there such a thing as moderation in smoking cigarettes?
No, that's an easy question.
But there are people who believe that, I'm not so bad. It's just one, or
All right. Not to get too graphic, but an AK-47 can deliver a lethal shot as much as a shotgun.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter whether it is 100 cigarettes or one cigarette. No cigarette is of any healthy benefit to a person. So my whole stance on it is that if you smoke and start to reduce, that is a step in the right direction. But what we want to do is stop smoking.
A complete elimination.
Complete elimination. We don't want to start.
Yeah.
But for those who have started, we want to assist them to stop.
All right. Dr. Terry Baker is the chair of the Jamaica Coalition for Tobacco Control, and they're welcoming the increased SCT. Yeah. That's been applied to cigarettes, and that's effective May 1. It will rise from $17 to $20, and Dr. Baker says that's a step in the right direction because one cigarette is one too many. Dr. Baker, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. All right, gonna go for a break, and then we're gonna go to Guyana, where the opposition leader's business was raided, and he's crying foul.
The following announcement is from the National Housing Trust. Pensioners who had a weekly income of less than $30,000 at the time of their retirement can apply for smart energy grants of up to $1.5 million. With the NHT Smart Energy Grant, pensioners can upgrade their homes with renewable energy solutions and save on electricity. See the Sunday newspapers and visit the NHT website for details.
The news cycle doesn't end on Friday. It needs perspective. That's why every Sunday at midday, Nationwide 90 FM presents The Week That Was. A clear, informed review of the top stories that shaped the past week, what really mattered and what lies ahead. No noise, no theatrics, just analysis, context, and clarity. The Week That Was. Sundays at 12 noon with a repeat at 6:30 p.m. Understand the news before the week begins. Only on Nationwide 90 FM, a new revolution in media.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
So some of you have been listening longer than I've been talking on radio, so this is our way of keeping it strong together. Join the Nationwide 90 FM Family Club on Patreon and stay with us.
Exciting news! The design studio on Nationwide 90 FM just got a whole lot bigger. Join us this and every Saturday now from 1 to 3 p.m. for an exclusive show that elevates your home, mind, and soul. Discover the latest interior design trends to create your dream sanctuary. Unlock your true potential with personal growth strategies. Nourish your body and spirit with expert wellness tips. Don't miss out on the inspiration you need to live your best life. Tune in to the design studio this and every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. and take the first step towards a more fulfilling you.
Make me sweat, make me harder.
None of mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all schoolers who are taking it.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Everything loud and wicked every Saturday 3 to 5 p.m. with Outside with Pepita. Lone vibes, lone laughs, and lone entertainment. Come on the road with we. Cause when we say Outside with Pepita, we're there all over Jamaica. Anyway, check them out. We're there. We're in on the business. Stay tuned in for prizes, surprises, giveaways, guest artists, and enough more. But hold on there. We forget to big up my DJ. DJ Jerome, the shell boss, I'm gonna make you bust 2 pew pew with the baddest, and latest tune. So look out for Outside with Pepita. We might be coming to a town near you. You heard it here first. Outside with Pepita, Saturdays 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. The new revolution in media. Jamaica, lock it in and don't miss a thing.
Thank you so much for staying with me here on Nationwide at 5, taking you around the world now because tensions are mounting in Georgetown in Ghana as the newly elected leader of the opposition, Azruddin Mohammed, accuses the government of political persecution following a dramatic raid on his business premises by the Special Organized Crime Unit. Heavy law enforcement presence descended on Lombard Street on Wednesday morning, February 11, as the unit ranks executed a search warrant at the former headquarters of Mohammed's enterprise. Authorities say the operation targeted an illegal currency exchange allegedly operating without a license, which was revoked back in 2024 following U.S. sanctions. Now, during the search, police seized nearly $2 million Ghana dollars and detained 4 individuals for questioning. The unit later released surveillance footage they claim shows illegal transactions occurring just minutes before the raid began. We're joined now by Editor-in-Chief of Starbuck News, Anand Prasad, who will tell us what's going on. Anand, hello.
Good evening. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for joining me. So, let me start by saying, what exactly is going on?
Well, currently there's a titanic battle going on between the leader of the opposition and the government over where the right lies as it relates to the ability to contest in the political arena. He has been sanctioned by the U.S. and been accused of large-scale smuggling of and under-invoicing of coal from Guyana. Now, both the current government and Mr. Mohammed were friends for a long time until, they had this bust up. So clearly, they both have information on each other, and this is what is playing out in the public domain. Mm-hmm. So, the other night in Parliament, he declared in his inaugural address that he'd actually bankrolled the PPP during lean periods and that he provided them with a lot of money. Now, that, of course, is a very sensitive issue for the ruling party because if this man has been sanctioned and he's been indicted by the U.S., it does raise questions about how it was he was able to finance you.
Right.
So he is now arguing that the government has decided to sort of retaliate against him by raiding his business and by sort of like trying to sort of send a signal to him. So they did raid the business, and they have alleged that they have evidence of ongoing Cambio operations which had been closed following the U.S. sanctions. They arrested 4 people and took them down for questioning. They were later released on their own recognizance, and we haven't heard as yet about charges that may or might not be brought. But this here is definitely a very high-stakes battle between two sides, and the rest of us are just watching on as spectators, trying to figure out where it's all going to end.
And Mr. Mohammed is claiming that this is political persecution. Are his fellow MPs backing him on the opposition benches?
Yes, I think they definitely will take his line. He has 16 MPs in Parliament, and you would know that he relegated the traditional opposition party to 3rd place. So far, his 15 MPs have stuck with him. Mm-hmm. As far as his contentions go. They are fully wedded to the philosophy behind his party, and what he intends to do. So there's been no separation whatsoever between him and them.
And in terms of the extradition fight, where's that now and how is that playing in all of this?
Yeah, so that has actually been in the magistrate's court for a couple of months. There had been an expectation among presumably the supporters of government that it would have been terminated by now and a decision would have been taken on extradition. But it's meandered its way through the magistrate's court, and it was postponed last week after Azuddin Mohammed's father fell ill and had to be hospitalized. So the next date for the magistrate's court hearing, which is the taking of testimony on the receipt of the extradition request and related matters, the next date is on Monday. It isn't clear if Azuddin Mohammed's father will be well enough to attend, so there could be further delays until we get to that point. And there's also the prospect that those decisions may ultimately be appealed to higher courts here, and that could further delay the process.
And how is is President Irfaan Ali responding to these things at all? Has he said anything about it?
Well, everybody is waiting for the moment when the two men will meet, because one is president and one is the leader of the opposition. And actually, the first opportunity they might have had to meet, a farewell reception for the British High Commissioner, President Ali left post-haste and took his entire retinue of ministers with him. He clearly did not want to meet with Mr. Mohammed at that point. So everybody is waiting with bated breath to see when they will meet, because there are important constitutional matters that have to be addressed by the two gentlemen. And surely, the business of the country has to go ahead. People have to be appointed, consultations have to be held.
Right.
So far, Mr. Ali has been clearly reticent about meeting with Mr. Mohammed. Mr. Mohammed clearly seems more interested in the two.
What about the claim of the bankrolling of the operations? Has the party responded, or the president at all?
So, and that again is another surprising example. Usually, the party is very forthcoming on claims of that sort. The general secretary of the party, who is the person who really should be able to speak on that, this is the former president Gaddafi, has been absolutely silent. We have tried to reach out to him on numerous occasions to find out. So far, the running is being done by Mr. Mohammed. He's produced a check to show a payment supposedly of $20 million to help to finance the party's last Congress in 2024, which is not that very long ago. And he has been talking up about how much he's provided. Now, for a long time, even before his revelations, there was subtext and talk about how Mr. Mohammed had always been a financier of the PPP. So this is something that has been out in the public domain. It is only now being affirmed by Mr. Mohammed. And the PPP is not saying much. The only word from the president so far is that the party is not being bankrolled by any one group of persons. A tacit admission that, they may have been financing, but he has not admitted or provided any sort of calculation of the extent of the financing and what it was used for, and whether or not they weighed whether or not they should have taken financing from somebody who, for all intents and purposes, was believed to be somebody with issues in their background.
Yeah. Boy, never a dull moment in Caribbean politics, no matter where you are in the region, there's never a dull moment. So, and then Prasad bringing us up to speed with what's happening in Ghana. He's editor-in-chief at Starbuck News. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me.
Not a problem. Yeah. Thank you, Anand. Yeah. So, anywhere you are in the Caribbean, the politics exciting. All right. That's going to be it from me. And that's going to be it for Nationwide at 5 for this evening, indeed for this week. Mahiri Stewart is flying solo this evening. He'll take you to the comments section at the top of the hour. Thank you to my producer this week, Sonia Stewart. Thank you very much, Sonia. The man behind the controls, as always, has been Bugs. Thank you, Bugs. All my colleagues in the newsroom, the very best in the business. Thank you all. Our callers, contributors, all of you, and our YouTubers. Thank you for your company this week. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I'm Ricardo Brooks. Good evening.